What happens when a low-ranking Omega calmly accepts his rejection before the Alpha heir can even finish saying the words, turning the tables on a room full of proud elites? Welcome back to Eternal Romance Stories. Today's heartwarming Omegaverse audiobook brings you a tale of quiet dignity, unexpected realization, and a slow-burn romance proving that true self-worth can never be traded for a crown. If you love emotional healing stories and fiercely protective alphas, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now let the story begin. The broken cup trembled in Noah's hand when 3 alpha kings found him crying on the kitchen floor. Moonlight spilled through the narrow palace windows, turning the flagstones silver while dying coals clicked softly inside the enormous hearth. The kitchens should have been empty at this hour. Instead, Noah Arden sat between a flower cabinet and the preparation table, knees drawn close, his white linen shirt wrinkled beneath a dark servant's vest. A copper kettle hissed faintly behind him. Honey and cooling bread sweetened the air. He pressed the heel of one hand against his mouth as if even breathing too loudly might wake the castle. Then boots sounded beyond the doorway. Noah moved instantly. He wiped his face with his sleeve, grabbed the broken cup, and scrambled upright. A ceramic shard slipped from his fingers. It struck stone with a bright click. Cassian entered first. The eldest of the Triplet Alpha Kings filled the doorway in a black wool coat, his dark hair still carrying traces of council dust. Dorian appeared beside him in midnight blue velvet, followed by Evander with his crown tucked beneath one arm. 3 nearly identical faces changed when they saw Noah. "What happened?" Cassian asked. "Nothing, Your Majesty." Noah crouched for the shard. "Stop!" His whole body obeyed before Cassian finished the word. Noah froze with his fingertips inches above the ceramic. The reaction was so immediate that Evander's expression sharpened. Cassian noticed too. His next words came quieter. "There's a sharp edge. That's all I meant." Noah nodded too quickly. "Of course." Dorian crossed toward the broom hanging beside the ovens. Noah reached for another piece before he could stop himself. His sleeve caught against the table leg and slid halfway toward his elbow. Cassian went still. So did Dorian. Evander's crown lowered slowly to his side. Pale lines crossed Noah's forearm. Some narrow, some uneven, all old. Noah saw where they were looking and yanked his sleeve down. The movement knocked the remaining half of the cup from the table. Cassian caught it before it hit the floor. Noah backed away. 1 step, 2. His shoulders touched cold stone. "I'm sorry." Evander frowned. "For what?" Noah looked at the cup in Cassian's hand. "I broke it." "It's a cup," Dorian said. Noah's fingers twisted together. "I can replace it." "Noah." Cassian set the ceramic carefully on the table. "Look at me." Noah's gaze lifted only halfway. Cassian did not move closer. "Did someone in this palace do that to your arm?" The hearth popped behind them. Noah flinched. "No." "Are you certain?" Dorian asked. "Yes." That answer came faster. Evander studied the cuff Noah was gripping closed. "Then who did?" Noah's face drained beneath the warm kitchen light. His eyes moved toward the doorway. Cassian stepped aside immediately, leaving the exit completely open. "You're not trapped." Noah stared at the empty path. "We won't stop you," Cassian added. For several seconds, only the kettle whispered. Then Noah walked toward the door. He passed Dorian first, then Evander. Neither touched him. Cassian's shoulder, he stopped. "Please don't tell my father." Cassian turned slightly. "Your father is our Gamma." "I know." Noah's voice cracked. He swallowed and tried again. "Please." Then he disappeared into the dark corridor. The 3 brothers remained beneath the amber kitchen lamps. Dorian looked at the abandoned shards. Evander stared toward the doorway. Cassian slowly turned the piece of cup in his hand. On the floor where Noah had been sitting lay a torn strip of linen from his loosened cuff. Cassian picked it up but said nothing. The mystery was no longer why their Gamma's son had been crying alone after midnight. It was why a 20-year-old man looked more frightened of 3 kings asking about his scars than he had of whatever gave them to him. At breakfast, Noah carried a silver coffee pot past 3 kings as if none of them had seen his scars 6 hours earlier. Sunlight streamed through the tall eastern windows of the royal dining chamber, flashing across crystal glasses and warming the carved oak table. Fresh bread scented the room with butter and rosemary, while logs snapped softly in the marble fireplace. Noah's white shirt was immaculate again. Both sleeves were buttoned tightly at the wrists. "Coffee, Your Majesty?" he asked. Cassian looked from the pot to Noah's face. "Yes." Noah poured without spilling a drop. Dorian watched his hands. Evander watched everything else. Their gamma, Alaric Arden, was occupied with border reports at the far end of the chamber, unaware of the silent agreement between his son and 3 Alpha Kings. The brothers had honored Noah's request. They had told him nothing. A servant dropped a serving spoon behind Noah. Metal struck stone with a violent clang. Noah ducked, not merely flinched. His shoulders folded, one arm rising instinctively over his head, while the coffee pot tilted dangerously in his other hand. Cassian caught the handle before boiling liquid spilled. The room stopped. Noah straightened at once. "Forgive me." Cassian released the pot. "Nothing happened." Noah blinked. "I nearly spilled coffee on you. And you didn't." Dorian turned toward the servant who had dropped the spoon. "Leave it." The young servant hesitated. "Your Majesty? Nobody is in trouble." Noah's eyes flicked toward him. Evander deliberately picked up the spoon himself and set it beside his plate. Conversation resumed, but Noah's movements changed. Quieter, smaller. Every time someone pushed back a chair, his fingers tightened around the coffee pot. After breakfast, Noah escaped into the west corridor carrying a tray of empty cups. Cassian started after him. Dorian caught his sleeve. "No," Cassian turned. "You saw that. Which is why chasing him with questions is the wrong move." Evander looked toward the doorway Noah had disappeared through. "Last night he was afraid we'd tell Alaric. This morning he reacted to a dropped spoon like it was a warning." Cassian's jaw tightened. "Then what do you suggest?" "We watch," Dorian said, without making him feel watched. They learned more before noon than interrogation could have given them. Noah apologized when another servant bumped into him. He stepped aside whenever an Alpha entered a narrow corridor, even when protocol required the Alpha to yield. When Evander casually reached past him for a ledger in the library, Noah recoiled before disguising the movement by straightening a stack of books. And every time anyone asked whether he needed something, the answer came exactly the same. "I'm fine." That afternoon, Cassian found Noah in the kitchens kneading bread dough. Flour dust floated through amber sunlight, and the warm room smelled of yeast and cinnamon. Noah pressed both palms into the dough with steady, practiced movements. Cassian remained in the doorway. "Your sleeve is coming loose." Noah immediately jerked his arm against his chest. Cassian lifted both hands. "I'm not asking to see." Noah stared at him. "Then why mention it?" "Because yesterday I told you to look at me. Today I realized that sounded like an order." Cassian removed the black royal signet from his finger and placed it on the preparation table. "So here is one instead. If my brothers or I ask something you don't want to answer, say no." Noah's brow tightened. "To a king. Especially to a king." Cassian turned to leave. "Why?" Noah asked. Cassian stopped. Behind him, dough stuck softly beneath Noah's fingers. "Because whatever taught you that every loud sound means danger also taught you powerful men get to demand answers." He glanced back. "We don't." Noah said nothing. Cassian walked out. A moment later, the royal signet scraped across the wooden table. Noah had picked it up. "King Cassian." Cassian turned. Noah stood beneath the golden kitchen light, still hiding both wrists, but his chin was raised. "I'm not ready to tell you." Cassian nodded. "Then don't." Noah crossed the room and placed the signet in his palm. For the first time, when their hands came within inches of each other, Noah did not recoil. The banquet tray crashed behind Noah, and every scar hidden beneath his clothes seemed to answer the sound. Silver platters rang across the preparation hall, startling servants beneath rows of golden chandeliers while roasting herbs, hot bread, and wood smoke thickened the air. Noah spun too quickly. The crystal pitcher in his hands slipped. Dorian caught it before it struck the stone floor. "Easy," he said. Noah stared at the Alpha King's hand around the pitcher, then released it immediately. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "Dorian." Noah blinked. "What?" "When we're carrying dishes together, I think titles become excessive." Noah almost smiled. Almost. The royal banquet began in less than an hour, and the palace kitchens moved like clockwork around them. Noah had volunteered to arrange the ceremonial table because staying busy meant fewer questions. Cassian honored that. Evander honored it. Dorian had apparently decided honoring it included carrying pitchers. Noah lifted a heavy serving tray. "I can manage." "I know." Dorian took the other end anyway. "So can I." They crossed beneath an archway where afternoon sunlight cut bright rectangles across the floor. A kitchen attendant hurried around the corner carrying a rack of copper pans. Someone called his name. He turned. The rack clipped Noah's shoulder. Noah stumbled sideways into the stone arch. Fabric tore with a dry rip. The tray landed safely because Dorian caught the weight, but Noah's dark outer tunic had split from shoulder to upper back. Cold corridor air touched exposed skin. Noah froze. Evander appeared from the adjoining hall. His expression changed instantly. Cassian, several steps behind him, stopped walking. Beneath the torn fabric were more pale scars. Not fresh wounds. Old marks crossing Noah's shoulder and disappearing beneath his shirt in irregular lines. Noah grabbed the torn cloth and pulled it closed. "I'm fine." Nobody had asked. Cassian's jaw tightened. Dorian lowered the tray onto a side table with deliberate care. "The attendant didn't hurt you?" "No, good." Dorian turned toward the pale-faced servant. "Then continue your work." The attendant bowed and hurried away. Noah looked between the brothers. "That's it." Evander removed his formal outer coat. He held it out rather than placing it around Noah himself. "You need something until that's repaired." Noah hesitated before taking it. The wool was warm and smelled faintly of cedar. He slipped it over his shoulders. It hung nearly to his knees. "Thank you." Cassian's gaze stayed above Noah's collar. "Those marks aren't from one accident." Noah's fingers stopped on the coat fastening. The distant banquet orchestra began tuning, violin notes drifting through the walls. "You said I could say no." "You can." "Then no." Cassian nodded immediately. "Understood." Noah stared at him, seemingly waiting for the question to return wearing different words. Didn't. Instead, Evander picked up the ceremonial place cards Noah had dropped. Dorian retrieved the tray. Cassian moved aside, clearing Noah's path. "The banquet can manage without you," Cassian said. "That isn't an order to leave. It's permission to choose." Noah looked toward the kitchens, then toward the quiet servants' corridor. His hand tightened around Evander's coat. "I want to finish setting the table." "Then we finish it," Dorian said. 20 minutes later, 3 crowned Alpha Kings carried silverware through their own banquet hall while Noah directed them beneath the astonished eyes of the palace staff. But when Noah reached upward to position the final candle, Evander's coat shifted, exposing another old scar near his shoulder. Cassian looked away before Noah could cover it. That small act stopped Noah colder than being stared at would have. He lowered his arm. "Cassian." The king turned. Noah swallowed. "They weren't accidents." Dorian stopped beside the table. Evander slowly set down the candles. Noah pulled the borrowed coat tighter. "That's all I can tell you today." Cassian inclined his head. "Then that's enough today." Noah walked toward the kitchens, and none of them followed. Behind him, the triplets finally understood one thing clearly. The scars had a story, and Noah had just chosen to open its first door. The next morning, Noah found a brass key beside his breakfast plate instead of another question about his scars. Pale sunlight crossed the smaller royal dining room in long golden bands, warming the oak beneath his fingertips while cinnamon porridge steamed beside fresh bread. Cassian, Dorian, and Evander were already seated. Noah picked up the key. Its teeth were newly cut, the metal cool and heavy against his palm. "What does this open?" "Your bedroom," Dorian said. Noah looked at him. "My door already opens." It didn't lock from the inside. Noah's fingers closed around the brass. Evander buttered a piece of toast as though 3 kings changing palace security for 1 Gamma's son were perfectly ordinary. Now it does. Only you have that key. Why? Cassian lowered his coffee. Because yesterday you chose how much to tell us. Your room should work the same way. Noah stared at the key until the engraved wolf crest blurred in the sunlight. He slipped it into his pocket without answering. By noon, the second change arrived. Noah was carrying folded linens through the servants' gallery when an alpha guard approached from behind and reached automatically toward his shoulder to get his attention. Stop! Evander's command cracked through the corridor. The guard froze. Noah did too. Torch flames whispered against the stone walls, mixing the scent of hot wax with clean linen. Evander walked closer, but stopped 6 feet away from Noah. New palace rule, he told the guard. No servant, soldier, noble, or royal touches Noah Arden without his permission unless there is immediate danger. The guard bowed. Yes, your majesty. Noah's grip tightened around the linens. You made a royal rule about me? Temporary decree, Evander said. I can revoke it if you dislike it. Noah opened his mouth, then closed it. Keep it. Evander nodded once and walked away. The third change was impossible to miss. That afternoon, Cassian summoned the palace household into the great hall. Noah stood near his father beneath towering stained-glass windows while hundreds of courtiers, guards, and servants filled the chamber. Winter sunlight painted blue and crimson across the marble floor. Cassian descended from the dais with Dorian and Evander beside him. Effective today, Cassian announced, Noah Arden is under direct royal protection. Noah's head snapped up. Alaric turned toward his son. Protection from what? Cassian's gaze briefly met Noah's. From anyone who believes his rank gives them authority over Noah's person. Whispers moved through the hall like wind through dry leaves. Noah stepped forward before he could lose his nerve. Your Majesty. Cassian stopped. Yes. You didn't ask me. Silence spread outward. Even Alaric stared. Noah's heartbeat hammered against his ribs, but he kept his chin raised. You told me I could say no. Cassian descended the final step until they stood on the same floor, still several feet apart. You're right. He turned toward the gathered court. The decree is suspended. A murmur swept the chamber. Cassian looked back at Noah. Do you want royal protection? Noah stared at 3 kings powerful enough to command armies, all waiting for the answer of one 20-year-old Gamma's son. His hand slipped into his pocket and touched the brass key. Yes, he said, but not ownership, not surveillance. And nobody questions my father about my scars behind my back. Dorian answered first. Agreed. Agreed, Evander said. Cassian inclined his head. Agreed. Noah drew a slow breath. Then I accept. Cassian turned toward the court again. Now the decree stands. This time, when the hall bowed, Noah remained upright beside the 3 Alpha Kings. And for the first time since they had found him crying in the kitchen, the power surrounding Noah had not taken a choice away from him. It had waited until he gave permission to use it. The copper pan hit the kitchen floor, and Noah dropped beside the oven before anyone could say his name. The clang rolled beneath the vaulted ceiling, sharp enough to silence knives against cutting boards, while orange firelight trembled over stone walls and the smell of rosemary stew hung thick in the hot air. Noah's hands covered the back of his neck. His forehead nearly touched the floor. I'm sorry, he whispered. Cassian stopped in the doorway. Dorian and Evander nearly collided behind him. None of them moved closer. The cook who had dropped the pan stared helplessly at Cassian. The king raised one hand. No punishment, no shouting, just silence. Noah lifted his head. He saw them. His face went pale. I'm fine. Cassian's mouth tightened, but he did not challenge the familiar lie. Instead, he slowly removed his crown and placed it on a flour-dusted table. Dorian followed, setting his beside it. Evander did the same. 3 Alpha Kings stood before Noah without the symbols that made everyone else kneel. Can we sit? Cassian asked. Noah stared at him. You're asking me? Yes. After several seconds, Noah nodded. Cassian sat on the stone floor 6 feet away. His brothers lowered themselves beside him. The hearth cracked softly. Heat pressed against Noah's cheek, yet his fingers still shook against his sleeves. "The sound," Dorian said. "It reminded you of something." Noah swallowed. "Yes." Evander leaned his forearms across his knees. "Do you want us to leave?" Noah looked toward the open doorway. He could walk out. Nobody blocked him. No, the single word barely cleared his throat. Cassian waited. Noah's hand moved toward his wrist, gripping the fabric over the scars they had seen. "Before my father brought me here, we lived somewhere else." The brothers remained silent. There was someone there who believed mistakes had to be corrected. Noah's gaze settled on the fallen pan. Broken dishes, speaking at the wrong time, being too slow. His breathing shortened. Cassian shifted, then deliberately stopped himself from reaching toward him. Noah noticed. "That's why you were crying here that night," Cassian said. Noah nodded once. "I broke the cup." Dorian looked toward the shelf of plain ceramic cups. "And you thought something would happen." "My body did." Noah pressed his palm against the floor as though testing whether the stone was real. "My head knew where I was. It knew this was your palace. But for a few minutes—" He pulled his sleeve higher. Several pale scars crossed his forearm beneath the firelight. These remembered somewhere else. Evander's eyes lowered, not avoiding the scars, but refusing to stare. "Did that person give you those?" Noah immediately dragged the sleeve down. "I can't." "Then don't," Evander said. Noah's gaze snapped toward him. "You're not angry?" "At you?" Evander asked. "Why would I be?" Noah had no answer. The kitchen door opened behind the kings. Gamma Alaric Arden stepped inside carrying a leather dispatch case. He stopped when he saw his son on the floor, the 3 crowns on the table, and Noah's hand clenched around his sleeve. The case slipped from Alaric's fingers. "Noah!" Noah rose abruptly. "Father!" Alaric crossed 2 steps, then halted himself. His eyes went to the exposed edge of a scar near Noah's cuff. "They know." Noah's silence answered. Alaric looked at the kings. "How much?" Cassian stood. "Only what Noah chose to tell us." Alaric's breathing turned rough. "Then this ends now." Noah stared at him. "What does?" Alaric picked up the dispatch case. "Pack what you need. We leave the palace tonight." Dorian straightened, but Cassian lifted a hand, stopping him from interfering. Noah looked at his father, then at the open kitchen doorway, then down at his own trembling fingers. Slowly, he closed them into a fist. "No," Alaric froze. Noah raised his chin. "I spent years leaving whenever someone else decided what was safest for me." His voice shook, but the next words did not. "I'm not leaving this time." Alaric's travel case stayed open on the bed while Noah quietly removed every piece of clothing his father had packed. Candlelight trembled across the chamber's stone walls, and the sharp scent of cedar rose from folded shirts as Noah returned them to the wardrobe one by one. Behind him, Alaric stood beside the window with both hands braced against the sill. "Noah, listen to me." Noah shut the wardrobe. "I have listened to you my entire life. I'm trying to protect you. I know." That stopped Alaric more effectively than an argument. Noah touched the brass key in his pocket. "You got me away from him. You gave me somewhere safe. I know what that cost you." Alaric's shoulders lowered slightly. "Then understand why we cannot stay now that the kings have seen my scars." Noah finished. The word hung between them. Outside, boots crossed the corridor, softened by the thick carpet. Noah waited for them to pass before continuing. "They saw them, father. Nothing happened." "Not yet. Cassian gave me a lock nobody else can open. Evander made people ask before touching me. Dorian sat on a kitchen floor because standing over me made me uncomfortable." Noah pulled the empty travel case from the bed and closed its brass clasps. "They had power over me every time. They chose not to use it." Alaric looked toward the door. "Kings change their minds. Then I'll leave when they do." Noah pushed the case beneath the bed. But that will be my decision. A knock sounded. Alaric stiffened. Noah did not. Who is it? Cassian. Noah glanced at his father, then crossed the room and unlocked the door himself. All three brothers waited outside. None wore crowns. Cassian held a folded document. May we enter? Noah stepped back. Yes. They entered only after Alaric moved aside. Firelight from the bedroom hearth cast amber edges along their dark coats, while rain tapped softly against the narrow windows. Cassian placed the document on the table. Your father requested permission to leave royal service tonight. Noah turned toward Alaric. You resigned. I thought it was necessary, Cassian continued. I refused to accept the resignation until Noah had been consulted. Alaric's eyes hardened. He is my son. And 20 years old, Dorian said. His decision belongs to him. Silence tightened the room. Noah walked to the table and unfolded the document. His father's signature waited at the bottom. Beside it was an empty line requiring royal approval. Noah took the page, crossed to the fireplace, and held one corner above the flame. Alaric stepped forward. Noah. Noah paused. Tell me to stay because you want me near you. Tell me you're worried. Tell me you hate that they know. His eyes met his father's. But don't decide where I live because of scars someone else put on my body. Alaric stopped. Noah lowered the parchment into the fire. Orange flame curled across the edge. The paper blackened, folded inward, and disappeared among the coals. Evander released a slow breath. Dorian said nothing. Cassian watched Noah, not the fire. Alaric sank onto the chair beside the bed. For several seconds, only rain and burning parchment filled the chamber. I am worried, he finally said. Noah sat opposite him. I know. And I hate that they know. I know that too. Alaric looked at his son's covered wrists. Because once people see those marks, they start deciding what you are. Noah's fingers tightened, then relaxed. Then let me decide what they mean. Alaric looked toward the three kings. If he stays, you do not question him without permission. Cassian answered immediately. Agreed. You do not investigate behind his back. Agreed. And if the past reaches this palace? Noah stood. Father. Alaric fell silent. Noah turned toward Cassian, Dorian, and Evander. Tomorrow night, the kitchen, after everyone leaves. Cassian's eyes narrowed slightly. For what? Noah rolled his sleeve just high enough for the first pale scar to catch the firelight. This time he did not cover it. I'm going to tell you the truth about all of them. The kitchen was empty when Noah rolled both sleeves above his elbows and placed his scarred arms beneath the lamplight. The last servants had left minutes earlier, leaving behind the scent of baked apples, cooling iron, and soap. Fire whispered inside the hearth. Beyond the narrow windows, darkness pressed against the glass. Cassian, Dorian, and Evander stood near the doorway exactly where Noah had asked them to wait. No crowns, no guards, no questions. Noah pulled out the chair where he had been sitting the night they found him crying. Its wooden legs scraped across stone. The sound made his shoulders tighten, but he sat anyway. His name was Garrick Thorne, Noah said. Cassian's fingers curled once at his side. Noah noticed. He was my guardian whenever father traveled on Gamma business. Everyone trusted him because he was disciplined, respectable. Noah rubbed his thumb across one pale line near his wrist. He believed obedience had to be taught before a boy became difficult. Dorian's jaw shifted. Noah, you don't have to describe. I know. Noah looked directly at him. That's why I can. Silence returned. Noah nodded toward the shelves of cups. If I broke something, I was punished. If I spoke without permission, punished. If I moved too slowly, punished. Sometimes I never understood what rule I'd broken until afterward. His hand moved to his shoulder. That's why there isn't one scar. The fire snapped. Noah flinched, but this time he stayed seated. Some came from being restrained. Others from punishments that left marks. I'm not telling you how. I don't want those details living in this room too. Cassian's voice came low. They won't. Noah looked toward the place where the cup had shattered days earlier. Father found out when he returned unexpectedly. He took me away that same night. How old were you? Evander asked. 14. Evander's eyes closed briefly. Noah continued before anyone could respond. Father saved me, but afterward he tried to save me from everything. Questions, strangers, alpha households, sometimes even choices. His mouth tightened. I let him because being protected felt better than being controlled. Dorian leaned forward slightly. Until you realized they can become the same thing. Noah nodded. That night you found me here, I had broken a cup. His fingertips pressed against the table. I knew Garrick was hundreds of miles away. I knew I was 20. I knew this palace was safe. He swallowed. But my hands didn't know. Cassian slowly pulled out a chair. May I? Noah nodded. Cassian sat. Dorian and Evander followed. None came closer. When you asked who gave me the scars, Noah said, I thought knowing would change the way you looked at me. It has, Evander replied. Noah's gaze snapped toward him. Evander held it. Before, I thought you needed us to protect you. He gestured toward Noah's uncovered arms. Now, I think you need us to remember you survived before we ever met you. Noah's fingers stopped moving. Dorian added. And that protection without your permission is just another locked door. Cassian said nothing for several seconds. Then he removed his royal signet and placed it on the table, exactly as he had days earlier. Tell us what you want. Noah looked at the ring. No investigations behind my back. Agreed. No revenge. Cassian's jaw hardened, but he nodded. Agreed. If Garrick ever comes here, I decide whether I face him. Dorian exchanged a glance with his brothers. Agreed. Noah exhaled slowly. Then he rolled his sleeves down. Not hurriedly, not to hide, simply because the kitchen had grown cold. A bell suddenly rang somewhere beyond the corridor. Footsteps followed. A royal messenger appeared at the doorway holding a sealed dispatch. Your Majesties, the northern delegation arrives tomorrow afternoon. Cassian took the document, broke the wax, and read. His expression changed. Noah stood. What? Cassian looked at him, then held out the letter instead of hiding it. Noah took it. Halfway down the delegation list, his finger stopped beneath one name. Garrick Thorne. Noah folded the letter carefully and returned it. His hands were steady. You promised I decide. Cassian met his eyes. You do. Noah looked at all three kings. Then tomorrow nobody sends him away. He lowered his sleeves over the scars Garrick had left behind. Tomorrow, he sees that I'm not hiding anymore. Garrick Thorne entered the throne hall smiling, and Noah stepped out from behind 3 alpha kings to meet him. Afternoon light poured through stained glass windows, laying crimson and cobalt across the polished marble, while the northern delegation's boots echoed beneath the vaulted ceiling. Garrick wore gray diplomatic robes trimmed with silver. Older now, his hair threaded with white, but Noah recognized the measured footsteps immediately. His fingers tightened once against his sleeves. Cassian noticed. He did not move. Neither did Dorian nor Evander. They had promised. Garrick bowed before the 3 thrones. Your Majesties. Then his gaze shifted. It landed on Noah. The smile disappeared for half a heartbeat before returning. Noah Arden. Noah heard the old cadence in his name and felt his shoulders trying to fold. Instead, he planted both feet on the cold marble. Lord Thorne. Garrick approached. Evander's hand moved toward his sword, then stopped when Noah glanced at him. Garrick came within 6 feet. You've grown. Stop there. Garrick froze. The hall went silent. Noah could hear banners stirring near an open gallery and smell beeswax from 100 burning candles. Excuse me? Garrick asked. I said stop. Garrick looked toward Cassian as though expecting the king to correct an insolent servant's son. Cassian merely rested one hand on his throne. You heard him. Garrick's jaw tightened. Your Majesty, surely you don't understand our history. They do, Noah said. Garrick turned back to him. What exactly have you told them? Noah's pulse hammered beneath his collar. The truth. Something hardened behind Garrick's eyes. A frightened child's version of discipline? Dorian rose. The scrape of his chair against marble cut through the chamber. Noah lifted one hand. Dorian stopped. That mattered. Noah looked at Garrick. You used to tell me silence was respect. I taught you structure. You taught me to apologize whenever something broke, even when I hadn't touched it. Garrick lowered his voice. This is neither the time nor place. You don't decide that anymore. Garrick took one step forward. Noah's body reacted before thought. His breath caught. His arm rose slightly. Then his fingers touched the edge of his sleeve. The scars beneath it were still there. So were 3 kings behind him, waiting rather than commanding. Noah lowered his arm. Step back. Garrick didn't. Cassian stood. The atmosphere changed instantly. He gave you an instruction. Garrick looked toward the throne. And if I refuse? Evander's voice came from Noah's left. Then you violate a royal protection decree witnessed by this court. Garrick's face lost color. Noah turned toward Cassian. I want the decree enforced. Only then did the kings act. Cassian raised 2 fingers. Palace guards approached, but Noah spoke before they reached Garrick. No chains. No spectacle. Escort him from the palace and revoke his access to royal territory until a tribunal reviews his conduct. Cassian's gaze held Noah's. Granted. Garrick stared at him. Noah, think carefully. These kings won't always be standing behind you. Noah's fingers stopped shaking. That's the part you still don't understand. He stepped forward until no throne stood between them. I'm not speaking because they're behind me. They're behind me because I chose to speak. Garrick opened his mouth. Noah turned away first. The guards escorted the former guardian toward the great doors. No shouting followed. No vengeance. Only the measured sound of boots growing quieter until the doors closed. Noah remained facing the thrones. His knees weakened slightly. Cassian took one step toward him, then stopped. May I? Noah understood. He nodded. Cassian placed a steady hand on his shoulder. Dorian came to his right, Evander to his left, close without enclosing him. Noah looked down at the sleeve covering the scars Garrick had once taught him to hide. Slowly, deliberately, he rolled it to his elbow beneath the full light of the throne hall. The scars remained exactly what they had always been. What changed was the man wearing them. Oh my gosh. The tension is through the roof. Noah has finally stood up to his former guardian, forcing the 3 kings to choose between royal tradition and their true feelings for him. Do you think they will finally tear down the old laws to be with him? Drop your theories in the comments below. If you're completely rooting for this healing redemption, please smash that like button. Now, let's see what happens when the kings finally choose to stand beside Noah as equals. 3 months later, Evander dropped a silver spoon in the kitchen, and Noah laughed before the echo had finished. The spoon struck the flagstones with a bright metallic clang, the same kind of sound that once would have folded Noah toward the floor. This time he stood beside the flour-dusted preparation table with both sleeves rolled above his elbows, pale scars visible beneath warm morning light. Cinnamon, melted butter, and fresh bread scented the air. Evander stared at the spoon. That was not intentional. Noah raised an eyebrow. Of course not, Your Majesty. Dorian leaned against the counter, cutting apples with considerably more confidence than skill. He's dropped 4 things this week. 3, Evander protested. Cassian entered carrying a ceramic cup. 4. Noah laughed again, quieter this time, and returned to kneading dough. None of the brothers looked away from his scars. None stared either. They had simply become part of Noah, like his pale hands, his stubborn chin, or the brass key still hanging from a cord inside his shirt. The tribunal had concluded 2 weeks earlier. Garrick Thorne had been permanently barred from the royal household and stripped of any authority over protected dependents. Noah had testified once on his own terms. Alaric had sat nearby without answering for him. Cassian, Dorian, and Evander had remained behind the tribunal rail because Noah had asked them to be there. When it ended, no celebration followed. Noah had simply returned to the palace and slept until noon. Now Alaric appeared in the kitchen doorway carrying a stack of council papers. "Should I ask why 3 kings are making breakfast?" "We're assisting," Dorian said. Noah inspected the crooked apple slices. "That word is doing heroic work." Alaric smiled. Months ago, he would have crossed the room to straighten Noah's collar or pull down his sleeves. Today he stopped several feet away. "The Eastern delegation arrives at 11. Will you attend?" Noah dusted flour from his fingers. "Do you want me there?" Alaric asked. "Yes. Then I'll attend." No deciding for him. No protecting him from rooms he had chosen to enter. Alaric left, and Noah watched him disappear down the corridor. Cassian placed the ceramic cup beside Noah. Noah recognized it immediately. Plain white glaze, blue rim, the same inexpensive design as the cup he had broken the night the kings found him crying. "You replaced it," Noah said. "Technically, the royal treasury survived the expense," Cassian replied. Noah picked it up. "What if I break this one?" Dorian shrugged. "Then we replace that one. And if I break 10? We own a kingdom," Evander said solemnly. "Our cup reserves are considerable." Noah snorted. Then his thumb stopped against the smooth blue rim. The kitchen blurred for a second, not into another place, but into the memory of this one. Cold stone beneath his knees, ceramic shards, 3 alpha kings filling the doorway, his sleeve slipping back, his desperate apology. He set the cup down carefully. Cassian noticed the change in his breathing. "Do you want us to leave?" Noah looked at him. 3 months ago, the question would have confused him. Now he understood exactly what it meant. "Choice." "No," Cassian nodded. Noah reached for the cup again. This time he carried it across the kitchen and deliberately set it near the edge of the table. Dorian stared. "That seems dangerous." "It's a cup." Noah repeated the words Dorian had once given him. Then he bumped the table lightly with his hip. The cup wobbled. Evander lunged dramatically to save it, nearly colliding with Cassian. Noah burst into laughter so hard he had to grip the counter. The sound filled the kitchen where they had once found him trying not to make any sound at all. When it finally faded, Noah looked at the 3 kings, his father's papers waiting beyond the doorway, the sunlight lying warm across his uncovered scars. They had learned the truth and given him neither pity nor vengeance, but something he had never known how to ask for: power over his own life. The scars remained, but the frightened boy who believed every broken cup required punishment no longer lived behind them. From a fearful servant hiding his past to becoming the heart and equal of 3 powerful alpha kings. What an incredibly satisfying and healing ending. Noah and the brothers proved that true love isn't about submission or royal status, but about choice, equality, and the courage to stand side by side. Did this heartwarming romance capture your heart? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe to Eternal Romance Stories, and click the video on your screen for more unforgettable audiobooks. See you next time.